Welcome to USTC360. I'm Ginger Chang. Today we continue the second part of our feature to commemorate the 7th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans is a smaller city today. However, the population is rebounding due to civic engagement. One of the hardest hit areas was the lower 9th Ward, and it's still in the recovery process. However, there's been one individual who's working to revive it, and her name is Jenga Mwendo, the founder and director of Backyard Gardeners Network. Welcome, Jenga.
Thank you.
So first off, you're a native of the lower 9th Ward.
Yes.
Can you tell us what was so special about this place to you before Katrina hit?
The lower 9th Ward has a really strong history of home ownership, especially black home ownership. It still is, but it was before Katrina, a majority African-American neighborhood. 60% of the population owned their properties and lived in their properties, and so people had very strong and deep roots here. When I was growing up, my parents actually were part of an organization who started an independent school down here called Ahidiana. And so I'm connected with the neighborhood, and there I was literally born in this neighborhood in a house on Royal Street. It was a home birth, so I was actually born in this neighborhood. My mother, I grew up between here and another neighborhood, New Orleans East, and I lived on Royal Street as a kid, came back to the lower 9 as a teenager and lived on Jordan Avenue, and my mother still lives in that house. So I have just really a strong connection with the neighborhood.
Well, like you, the first individual we're going to meet in the first segment, she is also a native of the lower 9th Ward, but she stayed during Katrina, and she says her soul is New Orleans. So let's go meet Miss Charmaine Neville.
Today, we're here all for one particular reason, for our support and anything that we can do to assist Charmaine Neville, a real ambassador for the city of New Orleans and the New Orleans area. How about a round of applause for Charmaine Neville?
I just want to say thank you to everybody. I feel
one of the honors that I have as mayor is to be able to give her a proclamation, make her an honorary citizen, let her know that we love her, let her know that we want to help her in any way that we possibly can. But most importantly, we want to thank her for so many years of dedicated service to our community.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adrian. Yeah, well, thank you. You know my cousin Arthel.
I actually am a journalist, and I covered Katrina. We were waiting to do a live shot, and I saw the paper, and then I checked my messages, and there was a message from Charmaine.
When the hurricane came, it flew all over the left side of my house, the north side of my house, and the water was coming in my house in torrents. I had my neighbor, an elderly man who's my neighbor, and myself. I found some police officers. I told them that a lot of us women had been raped down there by guys who had come from the neighborhood where we were, that were helping us to save people. But other men, and they came and they started raping women, and they started killing. I don't know who these people were. I'm not going to tell you. I know who they were because I told them. I broke the window in an RTA bus. I've never learned how to drive a bus in my life. I got in that bus. I loaded all of those people in wheelchairs and everything else into that bus. And we drove. And we drove.
And started crying, and I just couldn't believe that she had gone through that, and then to hear her voice, and I read it just was happening all at the same time. It's just so overwhelming.
Let's all get together.
Thank you so much.
I've lived through 2 catastrophes, Hurricane Betsy and Hurricane Katrina. And we're still here. We just looked out for each other, and that was the most important thing, to support each other.
I was in Texas. I left everything behind and just went back to New Orleans and tried to find my mom. And it was crushing.
And I was just happy to see my son again, you know. And when I saw him, all we could do was hold each other and cry.
That's my best friend. So it really feels good to see her better, you know.
Hey, I'm good. Man, how are you? Now, this is my doctor. This is my phenomenal doctor who has changed my life.
And she's not doing well. She's really weak and she's suffering. She's got a debilitating disease.
Oops.
Because at first she was couldn't get around, equilibrium, kind of unbalanced, couldn't stand for too long, you know, barely could speak.
Whatever the process is that's causing deterioration of her blood vessels, we are repairing the damage and we are doing something that is helping to retard that process.
Please know that if you have this syndrome, that you can be a nice person again and not be crazy like I was for such a long time. I'm sorry, you have...
That's why I'm saying that even though it's a genetic syndrome, this is going to be able to prolong her lifespan significantly.
You know, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here, you know?
Everything happens for a reason, everything. And I know that even with me being ill, that he has a reason for that.
So make your body do slow. You gotta say, hey, 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 hey.
There's just something about this city she loved, man, and she would not move. It's a 9-year-old girl for life. She like a superhero, you know?
Robin?
Yeah, I'm Robin.
I had been through a lot, but so had he been through a lot, you know? Just watching him become the man that he is today from being a little, well, he never was that little. He was about that little. But watching him grow from that to the man that he is now, you know, it's so phenomenal.
Hey, baby! Hey, baby!
There you go. Oh, you want me?
If I had to describe Charmaine in 3 words, Charmaine is light. She is energy. She is love.
I think the worst thing for us, we're going on 7 years now, the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And, you know, I think the worst thing of all of it, besides the fact that we lost everything, everybody in here lost everything that they had, you know, to the water. She took so much from us, you know, but it's not about the stuff she took from us, but the music she took from us.
Music is my life. You know, I've been singing since I was 2 years old. I mean, I've always known music. I grew up with music. Everybody in my family played music. Everybody in my neighborhood played music. Now, the worst part about the storm was that there was no music.
Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans and miss it each night?
My hope for New Orleans is that we don't change who we are, that we don't become some people that are not from here, that we don't become somebody who doesn't care about this city, you know, that we continue to want to make people come here to visit and keep this music alive for another 200, 300, 400 years, you know, that when we're not here anymore, the music is still going to be here, and that's what I want for the city and for the music.
I miss the one I search for more than I miss New Orleans.
Welcome back. So Django, I also know that before you were living in New York, and you had such a productive career, then why move back?
So I lived in New York for about 10 years, and I worked in the computer animation industry. And the job was fun, and I got to work on movies like Ice Age and Robots and Horton Hears a Who, and I was very proud of my work, but I think that I'd always been raised to see my life as a contribution and to think about you know, what I was giving back. And I had my daughter in 2004, so a year before Katrina hit. And I also think that when you have children, you start to think a lot about where your life is going, what kind of example you're going to be for them. And so when Katrina hit, it was really no question about it. I knew that I had to go back home and I had to I had to find what skills I had, you know, to be a contribution in my community.
So can you tell us the reason why you decided to start the Backyard Gardeners Network?
I started the Backyard Gardeners Network officially in 2009. But before that, in 2007, when I came back home to the lower 9th Ward, I started organizing people around revitalizing a community garden just as a revitalization effort and trying to do something that we all could kind of do together, you know, just to beautify our neighborhood, to turn something that was blighted and not productive into something beautiful and productive. And so as I was doing that work, I started meeting more of my neighbors and people that I didn't know as a teenager. And I realized that how strong a part of the cultural heritage backyard gardening was and is, and there's still a lot of folks in this neighborhood who maintain backyard gardens, and even more people who remember a time when everybody had backyard gardens. And also, you know, more than that, want to use it as a community building tool. So use something that we're already familiar with, you know, that we already have here in the community as a way to bring people together and strengthen those relationships and make our community stronger than it was before Katrina.
Well, one of the key things here is faith and belief. So let's take a short break and go meet two other musicians who are using their music to rebuild and revive the cultural traditions of New Orleans.
I'm happy to say that 7 years later, New Orleans tourism industry is thriving. It's better than ever. We welcomed 8.75 million visitors in 2011, which is more than any year since Katrina. So coming to New Orleans today is better than it ever has been, including in the pre-Katrina days.
The Musicians Village is a smaller part of all the homes that New Orleans Area Habitat for Humanity has built across New Orleans and Jefferson Parish, and before and after Katrina. We had a lot of volunteers who were talking to us about wanting to come down and help us build, help us, you know, rebuild the city. And then we had our friends, Harry Connick Jr., who has participated with Habitat for many years before the storm, as well as Branford Marcellus, both local sons of New Orleans. You had Harry and Branford who were saying, you know, how can we help the musicians in the Habitat program? Because in the program, you have to, you know, meet certain qualifications. You have to have the need for housing, which they do just like any other family has a need. That they have the willingness to partner because they're going to put in 350 hours, volunteer hours working with us in lieu of a down payment for their home. And then they have to have good or no credit. Tanya is one of our wonderful partner families. She's a wonderful musician. I've never heard somebody play the violin so wonderfully, and to hear, you know, I always thought of violin as the orchestra music and all that type of thing, but to hear her play with some of our other homeowners, the jazz, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
I got really lucky because I was one of the, you know, last people to get a house. I don't know what I'm gonna eat. I just probably just have watermelon, huh? And you know, there's this sweat equity where you're required to come for a certain number of hours, but I was like, forget that, I'm coming every day. I came like every day that I could because I wanted to know everything about the house and like all the layers, and you know, if something went wrong, I wanted to fix it. And more importantly, I just wanted to meet the volunteers and thank them, you know. And it was nice. They were always so excited. Oh, you're the owner. You're going to be the owner of this house. And it was this really nice connection. I was born in Taiwan, and my family moved to America when I was 4. I started playing the violin when I was 6. I never liked playing the violin. My parents made me play. I didn't want to play. And then, I don't know, but I just kept playing anyway. When I graduated from college, I met Jerice just through a friend, and we just really enjoy playing together. She's like, play this, and I was like, these are songs I listen to, you know, I can play songs that I like. And then she called me, she said, why don't you come to New Orleans? You can play music. 10 years later, here I am. Yeah, here we are, you know, we're both still here, still playing in the street. A lot of people took a long time to come back, you know. We were one of the first people to come back to play at Café du Monde.
I've been here almost 12 years. I came here a few years before Tanya did. I was a teacher for 20 years. I moved here from New York. After Katrina, and I was actually the first musician back probably on the streets. There was nobody else back, so it was real critical. People didn't have much entertainment. The clubs weren't open. There was nothing happening. It was mostly construction workers, emergency workers. So we were playing over at Café du Monde. You know, people were just looking forward to it every day. It was not much to do, so it was really, I think, a relief and very important at that time. For women here in New Orleans, this is a place that's always been high in prostitution. There's a lot of women out here who are working, and to give them a different gamut. There's a lot of street musicians out here who are women, and it's a very powerful effect. The identity of an African-American woman and an Asian-American woman to play music and to play all kinds of music is really important to this planet. And I don't know if you guys can really understand that, but it's something that we answer every day. People don't know why we're friends, how we met. And socially, culturally, it's something that people need to see. It's a very powerful visual, and it's important that the little kids, their imaginations are changed. Children are seeing a different place than I did when I was a kid.
My attitude towards music. You either do it or you don't, that's it, you know?
You know, it's nice to be able to see young people, old people, blue people, green people sit next to each other and enjoy music together. The effects that we have is positive on people. Like, I see people fighting sometimes out in the streets, and we play music and they stop fighting. I see people just coming here, homeless people who can't go to clubs, who can't go anywhere else. They don't smell too good. They can sit here and get some of the music and just chill out.
Some people live for the fortune. All right. Some people live just for the fame.
People who live here tend not to leave, and when they do, they come back because there's no place like it. And I know that there's so many who still want to be here and can't. I want to see every single one of them back. It actually hurts my heart to know that there are people who can't. You know, they got sent somewhere and dropped. They weren't even told where they were going.
Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you.
I want the world to understand that instead of looking down at New Orleans because of what you see on TV, because that is not it at all. I want the world to understand that they have more to learn from New Orleans than the other way around.
Katrina allowed one historical, slave historical place to cleanse itself and to rewrite the script. But the city's under great transitions all the time. It's very different now. People came back in. They now had a new standing point for which to view New Orleans.
And I realized coming down to the French Quarter after Hurricane Katrina, the French Quarter did not flood out. Only the lower 9th Ward, that flooded out. So I was happy to see that that tourism and economics has kind of rebounded.
People who are from here and people that have moved here from other cities, especially after Katrina, I feel like everyone really just is in the effort to help rebuild New Orleans and make it what it was and even better.
We're definitely part of the street identity. People have been coming back to see us and to see the street performers in general.
I mean, I've been an artist for 20 years, and I've sold more art here than anywhere else. Right after Katrina, the tourists were still coming. And so, you know, people love New Orleans, and so, you know, they were coming for all reasons. Via volunteer reasons, via government restructure, via love for the city and family and ancestry and history in the city.
I really hope that people, when they hear the music, they make their own connections, and it makes them think about situations in their life and people in their lives, and that it can help them or help them tap into what they're feeling.
I think there's a level of freedom in knowing that we can't plan it. And I think that's a lesson from Katrina as well, that you don't know what's going to happen. And you really try to live well and listen to people and, you know, try and help. And it's not just about the dollar.
Welcome back again. So Jenga, in the garden we are here right now, this is fruit of your labor, your dream. And now it's become a healing space for the community. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about knowing this?
I feel very proud of the progress that we've made. I feel really good about the fact that we were able to get the things that we envisioned, and you know, we created the resources. We didn't have the money to put all of this stuff in, but you know, we worked together and we made sure that that we got it. I see this space as an outdoor community center. I'd like for programs to be happening here on a regular basis every day of the week. I'd like to create partnerships or expand partnerships with different organizations and the churches in the neighborhood, and have them do their programming and events here at the garden, and just to to have every little bit of space here be used and really benefit the community to its capacity.
You are indeed doing a wonderful job, and keep up the good work, really. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for letting us be here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have y'all.
And guys, this is Ginger Chang. I'm signing out of New Orleans here in the Lower Ninth Ward, and I'll see you next week.